Ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing? What transpired over this weekend was one of the most staggering, mind-melting displays of hypocrisy I've ever seen. And I'm not even just talking about the Trump splice. I'm talking about several stories that have left me stunned and bewildered over the last 48 hours. There's 3 of them. I'm going to cover them in quick succession because I can't skip over these. So strap yourselves in. It's going to be interesting. Right then, if you don't live under a rock, you know exactly what the Trump splice is. I'm sure you're aware of it if you follow my channel. But if you're new, you're one of those 40% or whatever that is a new boy, here's exactly what happened, all right? I'll be as concise as possible. On BBC's Panorama show, that's like their real-life documentary show, they spliced together 2 separate speeches that were an hour apart to make it show, or at least seem to show, Donald Trump promoting violence on January 6th. Those of you that pay attention are well aware that he did not promote violence, the exact opposite. But of course, the BBC doesn't care about the truth, so they spliced 2 separate speeches together, and this is what they came up with. The Panorama edit is shown on the left, and then after that, you get the original clip.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you, and we fight. We fight like hell. We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women.
That's edited for brevity, obviously. He actually said, we're going to cheer on our brave senators and men and women, and we are going to peacefully protest. And an hour later, in a totally different speech, he said, we're going to fight like hell. And that's normal discourse in the United States. You've seen Pelosi and Schumer and Maxine Waters, the most aggressive rhetoric ever, saying we're going to beat the piss out of them. Joe Biden saying I'd like to take him out behind the bike sheds and give him a good pasting. This is the rhetoric they use. He specifically said we're going to peacefully protest. He even praised the senators and the brave policemen and women and all that type of thing. This is brazen, blatant lying. It's as clear as day. It's as bad as anything the CCP's ever done. And look what the response has been on Twitter today. David Yelland is just one of many insane walkies on X today. Loads of politicians, loads of MPs, Lib Dems, Cons, Labour, the lot of them, saying the BBC's the best in the world, even though they've just been blatantly caught fully lying their asses off. They're coming out with stuff like this. What has happened today at the BBC is nothing short of a coup, a national disgrace. The corporation's board has been undermined, and elements close to it have worked with hostile newspaper editors. The only honourable players here are Tim Davie and Deborah Turner's ludicrous state of affairs. Here's an even worse one from Anna Sabine MP, Lib Dem for Frome and Somerset. Tim Davie's resignation is deeply worrying. It raises serious questions about whether bad actors are interfering in the BBC's independence. The BBC is a cornerstone of British media. We want it to be the best it can be. That's why we support the licence fee. It should protect journalism from misinformation and Trump-style populism. We cannot let these protections be eroded. The BBC must stay independent. Unbelievable. So they've been caught lying hundreds of times. They've been protecting diddlers. They've covered up for the grooming gangs. They are embarrassingly corrupt. The whole world knows it. There's pedos, sex scandals, kiddie fiddling, grooming gangs, brazen propaganda like we see today. That's why the public doesn't support the BBC anymore. That's why I've been telling everyone we should bulldoze it for the last 10 years. And then this raving lunatic, on the same day that there's an international headline about the BBC lying like a Chinese Rolex, lying, splicing, deceptively editing fake footage to lie about the President of the United States of America. And these lunatics with a straight face say, oh, the BBC's the best thing in the world. You absolute psychopath. I feel like I don't need to say much more about it. The evidence has been presented. The BBC lies. Politicians lie, but the BBC takes the cake. Brazen, aggressive propaganda that the Chinese would be proud of. So these raving lunatics coming out and saying, oh, the BBC's brilliant, it's the best in the world, is just mind-melting hypocrisy of the highest order. They are living on another plane of reality if they think people will see that spliced clip and go, oh yeah, the BBC's brilliant. Honestly, even lefties, they're saying, I don't like Trump, but this is outrageous. That was brazen, blatant propaganda. So this is what we're dealing with. I'll repeat myself. Bulldoze the BBC, build a car park on it, pretend it never existed. If we erase the name, we may erase the shame. Next up, this is amazing. The facts don't lie. The biggest problem in the UK is right-wing extremism. Despite mass unprovoked stabbings and murders, this snack bar regular claims the new survey shows that right-wing extremism is the most dangerous in Great Britain.
The Home Office has just released the latest figures of 2025 on extremism. And drum roll, please. The highest rate of referrals made to prevent the anti-terrorism watchdog were made of white right-wing nationalist extremists. Surprise, surprise. What we've been saying all along. Right-wing nationalists made up double the amount of so-called Islamic extremists referred to prevent. And statistics don't lie, numbers don't lie, facts don't lie.
We'll cut it there because that midwit, that absolute oxygen thief, that man who hasn't got two brain cells to rub together, actually thinks he's making a clever point there. Statistics don't lie. Do I need to throw up quotes about statistics? Do I need to? Really? Lies, damned lies and statistics? Never heard that one, have you? No. Total mystery. Not the sharpest tool in the box, this fella, is he? That's what happens when you're the result of cousin marriage. Yeah, he's probably got webbed feet and ears on his neck. Anyway, if you don't know what he's talking about, it's the lies, the lie statistics, the nonsense fake statistics from the fake quangos and the lying government saying that twice as many white guys, right-wing fellas basically, are on the extremist watch list as snack bar regulars, which, again, they can't be this stupid. Two things. First of all, per capita. If they make up 7% of the population and pasty blue-eyed fellas like me make up 85% of the population, but they're twice the amount of extremist referrals, that still means that you lunatics are ridiculously overrepresented in the list. So there's the first low IQ point that an 8-year-old could understand. And secondly, the statistics are blatant lies anyway, because that's what the governments and the quangos do. They lie to you all the time. And, you know, even if you're right or left or centre, you know that. Politicians lie, MPs lie, civil servants and quangos lie. So them numbers are fake. And if you don't think they're fake, I can prove you wrong in about 2 seconds. You know why? Numbers lie, statistics lie, MPs lie. But you know what doesn't lie? Corpses. Hey, Grok, in the last 25 years, what has the death toll from terrorism been in the UK? And what percentage of those deaths was due to snack bar extremism? Of the 136 deaths during that time, 96 were from snack bar extremism. These attacks were overwhelmingly in Great Britain and targeted civilians. These include the London bombings, the Woolwich murder, the Rochdale Imam murder, the Westminster attack, the Manchester Arena bombing, the London Bridge and Borough Market attack, the Reading stabbings, the murder of David Amos, the Hartlepool stabbing, the synagogue attack. Of the remaining deaths, they were primarily from dissident Irish Republican groups in Northern Ireland, and a very small number of far-right extremists in Great Britain. Joe Cox's murder, alright, that probably wasn't a far-right extremist, but we'll let them have it anyway. The Finsbury Park van attack and the Lapshin bombings, 3 deaths. And Grok really tries to be left-wing biased as well. So if you discounted Northern Ireland and that sectarian nonsense over there, if you're just talking about right-wing English blokes, you've got 3. 3 deaths in 25 years. Ergo, statistics can be massaged, politicians can lie, but bodies talk, okay? They tell a story. And if the snack bar regulars have killed 100 people there and Johnny English has killed 3 people, might I suggest that the real problem isn't far-right extremists, is it? It's the lads who follow the big book of desert fables from the pot-bellied epileptic warlord and the 1400-year-old tale of absolute Shiite that only a zealot can bring themselves to believe. And the final story, God bless him, Humza Useless is in the US trying to drum up some far-left extremists in the United States, and he puts this out. Just listen to this.
I'm in the United States this week, meeting with the Muslim Public Affairs Council and other partners who share the same goal: to stand up against the rise of the far right. You see, what happens on one side of the Atlantic doesn't stay there. The far right are sharing messages, tactics, and funding across borders. You only have to take a look at figures like Tommy Robinson, who's quoting and echoing the very same lines that we hear from hard right extremists here in the United States. Their rhetoric and their hate crosses oceans in seconds, and therefore so must our response. That's why I'm here. Because if the far right can coordinate globally, then so must those of us who believe in celebrating our diversity, equality, and believe in progress, not going backwards in the 21st century.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing. Demonstrably ludicrous, backwards, up is down, left is right. If your granny had a cock, she'd be your granddad. Total gibberish, right? I've just listened to a bloke there, a devout follower of a dark age philosophy that goes back to 610 AD. Over 1,400 years ago, this lunatic ideology, this cancer on the bollocks of humanity was spewed out, and the death and the murder and the slavery and the genocide and the butchery everywhere, from Spain and the Moors to the Ottoman Empire, the slave trades, the Barbary pirates, the butchery, the Crusades, the misery that this ancient millennia-old fable has caused on planet Earth cannot be calculated. And I've just heard a very, very devout follower of that belief say, if we don't have more of the 610 AD theology, we'll be going backwards in the 21st century. Yeah, you got that right. If you don't read the big book of desert fables from 1,400 years ago, you're definitely going to go backwards in the 21st century. Yeah, cheers then, Humza. Don't piss in my face and tell me it's raining. This is ludicrous. This is like a Luddite telling me, get rid of your brand new Intel laptop and replace it with a lump of slate and a bit of chalk for progress. It's not progress. You want to go back 1,000 years, you pot-bellied, sparrow-boned inbred. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Embrace the millennia-old desert scribblings, or else you'll be taking us backwards. Cheers then. Yeah, if those three stories haven't convinced you of the insane up is down, left is right, 10 million square pegs through 10 million round holes, all the pots in the cosmos calling all the kettles black. I don't know how many more analogies I can make. It's preposterous. The insidious, aggressive, endless lies and machinations of the devious, manipulative, slithering left turns my stomach. And if you watch those three stories and it didn't knock you sick, you're a better man than me, Gunga Din. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll see you tomorrow. Toodle pip. Cheers.